This is the former Episcopal Church of the Holy Communion, built in 1844, but by the end of the 1990s, it was anything but holy. Between the late 1980s and the turn of the century, the Limelight was one of New York City's most infamous clubs and attracted all sorts of people from all around the world. Artists like Grace Jones, Marilyn Manson, Chuck Berry, Cyndi Lauper would all perform here. Limelight was also home to the Club Kids. These were an influential group of people that dressed up in elaborate costumes and partied the night away.
By 1996, Limelight's appeal began to crumble when club kid Angel Melendez was killed by the ringleader of the group, party promoter Michael Alig, and his roommate Robert Riggs, also known as Freeze.
In Alig's apartment, they took the body, put it in the bathtub, filled it with Drano, ice, baking soda. Days later, they cut up the body, put it in a box, and dumped it in a river.
Michael Alig was a kid who came from the Midwest and exploded on the scene of nightlife. He worked his way up to become the leader of the Club Kids.
Love your haircut. I mean, it's just sensational.
Well,
low maintenance. I see that. It's great.
I don't know. I guess they're jealous because I'm having a lot of fun and they're not.
When Michael started, he was reckless and bratty and fun, and I liked his charisma. I liked his ideas for club parties, and I liked the way he wanted to shake up the bourgeoisie and the banality and get attention for himself, though that gradually led to a spiraling. And there was a dark side from the beginning, but at first we were kind of captivated by the dark side. Ooh, he has nerve, he really can shake things up. He's got, the cojones to go there. But eventually it became more out of control and less cute. Before I knew it, he was throwing big parties, everyone was following him. A whole legion of club kids was saying, Michael, Michael, and I would turn around and it's like, no, Michael Alig, not you. The club kept hiring him. I kept going to his parties. We all sort of enabled it in some way, but also I was there not just to celebrate him, which I did on talk shows when I said nightlife is a wonderful place for many LGBT youth.
We make our own rules in the clubs. Nobody is there to say, you can't dress like that, you can't behave like that, you shouldn't be doing that. We can do whatever we want.
A lot of LGBT kids found a home here. They could work within the scene, they could enjoy themselves, bond. Some of them had been thrown out by parents or weren't accepted by their parents, and here they were accepted. But I also was there to chastise and say when he went overboard, which was often. And Michael even had a party here at Limelight that was like a blood feast thing with, dismembered limbs and imagery like that, which made you wonder what he was thinking about.
In March 1996, Angel Melendez went missing.
April 10th, 1996, I ran a piece about how Michael had called me saying he was fired. He sounded like a mess. He said, my apartment is padlocked, I'm homeless, and he really sounded out of it. And then I asked around and said, is this what's really happening? And somebody said, yeah, but people also think that he and Freeze killed Angel. So I put obviously mention of a missing person and wondering what Michael knew and what he did. The buzz kept mounting, and 2 weeks after that I did my famous blind item called Night Clubbing, which addressed a fight over drug money, involving a hammer, finishing off, pillow, ultimately cutting up the body and throwing it in the river. Michael once came up to me on the street before his conviction and was promoting some party, and I was like, ew. And he's like, you don't think I killed Angel, do you? And it was said in a very eerie, taunting way. And I thought, yeah, I do think you did. He had obviously told so many people that he did it that part of him wanted to be caught. He was screaming to get caught. Everybody was buzzing. He told a lot of people. Some people thought he was joking, some people thought it was a stunt. You never were sure from his tone, but he wanted the word out there. He almost was wearing it as a badge of honor. When he was missing, it was extremely tragic and gave more credence to obviously what we've been hearing. When I first heard it, I thought, well, this is something Michael Alig could be capable of. He had gotten that messy and did have that seed of darkness that obviously had spiraled without boundaries and with more and more drugs through the years. I was part of getting the word out there, and my item was picked up along with an item in New York Magazine where Michael admitted to having a fight with Angel. Obviously, once Michael was convicted and sentenced, it was extremely uncool to be a club kid. I was relieved to know that he pled guilty, because by that point nobody thought this was some kind of joke or a stunt. He definitely was going to make a name for himself. That's what he was after, but he did so in very clever ways. He wasn't just some psychomaniac, you know, who did nothing. He ruled nightlife for years. Then it all went down with the lack of boundaries, too many drugs, and now he's famous for something else.
In 1997, Alig and Freeze pled guilty to manslaughter. Freeze was released from prison in 2010. Alig served 17 years in prison. He was released in 2014.
We were hoping that we would go to bed and wake up the next day and that it had been a dream. I mean, we were that scared, and it's hard to put yourself in this situation where you've done something like this that's so horrific that really the whole universe has changed. And like that. I don't know of any other story in modern day that has so many drama queens and so many attention whores. And so I can imagine that when the DA went around asking people, you know, questions, there were people that just made up answers because they wanted to be involved in some way. They're probably not used to so many people that want to be involved in something scandalous like this, because most people want to shy away from that kind of thing. But the kinds of people that are associated with this scene, they want to be in the paper, and they want to be, we wanted to be, you know, we want to get attention, and it kind of didn't matter if it was negative or positive attention, just getting the attention. And then, of course, when you make a Hollywood movie of it, so now you have a Hollywood version of an already hyped up version, and somewhere it turns into something completely else. There are a lot of people who just they see something on film, and because it's in a movie or documentary, they think it's got to be true.
There's a story that came out that said you injected his body with Drano. Is that true or false?
That one is false.
There's also rumors that Drano was dumped on his body. So.
That was true, among other things. You know, just whatever our drug-addled minds thought would cover up any scent, or we didn't know what we were doing. I mean, we were just kind of on autopilot and just making snap decisions, and none of them good, none of them right. But that's what happens when you're on drugs. You don't even realize that you're not making right, you know, because you're on drugs. So, you know, I'm not using drugs as an excuse or anything, because I was sober when I decided to take drugs. So, you know, I have to take responsibility for everything that happens while I'm on them. On the other hand, we weren't on our right minds, obviously. You know, we were just making bad choice after bad choice after bad choice, and making the problem worse when we thought we were trying to make it better, you know.
Did you have a party in the apartment while Freeze was in?
You know, no, we did not. Things like that upset me because they add an air of sinisterness and darkness to it's already a terrible situation, already a dark situation, but that specific thing changes the story from something that possibly could be forgivable in a certain, you know, by certain people in a certain, to something that maybe isn't so forgivable, because it's now there's premeditation, and there's malice and kind of, you know, and so that bothers me. It insinuates an air of, you know, just callousness, and we don't care, and we were so racked with guilt and just pain and misery, and there was no way. I wasn't even throwing parties at the clubs. I mean, the clubs were kind of just running. I couldn't put together a party at the club, let alone my house. We were doing anything, you know, every, you know, defense mechanism and every possible escape and running away that we could think of to either make, you know, maybe it didn't happen, or, you know, fix it in some way.
After they returned to the apartment, Alig took heroin and then cut up his victim's body.
We just went right to the drug dealer and bought as much heroin as we could buy, because I think we wanted to kill ourselves. Heroin gives you kind of a feeling of that everything is okay, kind of like Xanax, but you know, it takes away all of your worries and concerns, and you can actually you could maybe do something that wouldn't seem conceivable, if you're sober. So I said, I'm just going to do more and more heroin until I get to a point where I either can do, can take care of this, or I die, and then you'll have two bodies to get rid of, and then I won't have the responsibility.
The rumor is that after Angel had passed away, you had gone around telling people.
We did tell people, and it was a combination of things. It's a very complex thing that when you do something so horrific and monumental in a horrific way, and unfathomable, and just overwhelming. I told people, because in a way I felt, and this is really selfish, but drug addicts are selfish people. I told my friends in an awful way because I felt like I was sharing the burden of responsibility now. Like it wasn't just me that had this awful secret, now my friends did too, and it was like a little bit of a weight off my shoulders. And then it turned into, when a lot of people knew about it, then it turned into something more like, well, let's tell everybody we did, because then people started questioning, did you do it? So then it was more like, well, let's say that we did it, so they think we didn't do it, So it was a little bit of everything, but one thing it wasn't was, we killed somebody and now you can't do anything about it. It wasn't that. And I think maybe some people think that it was. Nobody that knows us thinks that, but I think maybe people who don't know us might think that, and if they do, that's not true.
It hurts me, because my brother trusted these people so much. He trusted them so much. What am I going to miss most of him? A lot of things, small things. I'm just going to miss him.
Because of what happened with the judge, and they said you could not communicate with Angel's family. If I was Angel's family, what would you say to them?
I think the best thing to say, and it's true and it's heartfelt actually, is that if they wanted to contact me, I would be very open to anything they would want to contact me about, because this isn't really about me, it's about them now. It's a whole new way of looking at things and dealing with the world, interacting with the world, putting other people first. If that would be something that would make them happy, I would be willing to do anything they want me to do,
So how are things in your life, Michael, these many years after you started?
Things are just great, Geraldo. How are things in your life?
Oh, fine, thanks, fine.
When I see footage of me from back then, and how flippant and kind of, not exactly mean, but maybe arrogant, and it makes me cringe, honestly, and I feel like I have a lot of making up to do. I'm trying to reimagine myself or reinvent myself into a person who is, maybe we'll say, less self-indulgent, and more selfless instead of selfish. There's a time to be selfish and indulgent when you're 20, 25. I'm 52 now, so I think I need to be the opposite of that. I believe in karma, and I want to balance the scales, and I know that nothing I ever do is going to erase the past and make it all good again, but as long as I'm going in that direction, I'm just trying to incorporate that kind of idea, that kind of feeling into everything I do, really.
So important to remember that Freeze was the equal killer, and that Angel especially was the victim. Angel's family came from Colombia to New York when he was 8. He found a home in the club scene. Yes, he was dealing drugs. He wasn't a bad person. And it's important to remember the victim and not just keep, sometimes I'm loath to even talk about Michael Alig, because people say just even talking about how horrible he was is a form of celebration, and he's loving it. It's horrifying. It's definitely the most horrifying thing I've ever covered in nightlife.
to the Peeew.
This is the Desmond is Amazing episode.
Our special guest, the amazing Desmond.
Hello.
All the way from Brooklyn. Drove through rush hour traffic to get here. Hot tea. It's 9:40 p.m. and he doesn't have to go to school tomorrow.
We should explain to the viewers who Desmond is. Desmond is the world's youngest club kid, and we challenge you as the viewer out there to find a younger club kid. Will they find one? No. Welcome to the Peew.
The Peew.
The devil-worshipping episode.
We're going to talk about bafflement, not bafflement.
Bafflement, yes, bafflement. We are baffled at bafflement.
Yeah, usually you can use the term bafflements to describe the Peew. But today it's about bafflement.
And
who is Baphomet?
Netflix and the Satanic Temple. Not to be confused with the Church of Satan.
Right, because apparently Satanists are just as bad as Christians. Like, they can't get along.
Worse.
They can't agree on doctrine, so then they have to have their own separate denominations.
Yeah.
So you've got the Temple of Satan.
Now,
the
when they're mad at each other, do they tell them to go to hell? Or do they say go to heaven? Yes.
You can go to heaven.
For the other do-gooders. So, apparently the Satanic Temple is suing Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Well, Netflix,
yeah.
Which has
funny.
The chilling adventures of Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Now, apparently this new Sabrina is a chilling adventure. It's not like the slapstick, bewitched Sabrina,
or the cartoon
wacky.
from the 1970s.
Yeah, nothing wacky about this.
Sabrina
this is
Witch.
supposedly chilling. It's not wacky, it's chilling.
It's
like a rap star.
And I have not watched it.
Chilling.
Have you watched it?
I've seen clips, and they were chilling. Chilled.
Bone chilling?
Bone chilling. No, this is like chilling like a rap star hanging out. There's a grip. Chilling. Chilling. I'm just chilling. Chilling.
So it's kind of like a Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
No, I think that was a little bit too tongue-in-cheek to be chilling.
American Horror Story?
Still too tongue-in-cheek, but going in the right direction.
Okay.
I don't think we've seen chilling like this. This is a new kind of chilling.
Dark Shadows type of chilling?
No, you're going backwards again.
Okay. Alright.
I don't think we've seen it. I think American Horror Story is probably as close as you're going to get.
Okay.
Crossing the boundary. Or chilling. So, but...
Walking Dead chilling?
Maybe. Advent chilling. Mad Ben.
Alright.
So
they're suing over Baphomet.
This is what happens when you cross that line. Now, it's interesting that...
Well, first let's explain who Baphomet is.
Oh, yeah. Baphomet is a character that represents, I guess it's like a, what animal is it?
It's
like
their god.
Yeah, but it's like a,
It's a
made-up animal.
It's a made-up deity, horns. And it has a goat head, and it's androgynous, and it represents the temple of Satan's, I guess, ideal of...
It's a sex, what is it? Flender,
It's the angel...
Fluid. Gender fluid. It's gender fluid, trans god.
Who went against the Christian God because he didn't like the rules and patriarchy.
Yes, and it's interesting. They were this is the original Baphomet statue that they created was supposed to go up in Oklahoma across from the Ten Commandments. I think that was like voted out or something.
It's like get a permit to put that there. So it's somewhere else now. So basically they're suing because they made up this deity, and now they're saying that Netflix copied it wholesale.
But Netflix is saying
their show.
that they actually that the chest is different and the hair is or the eyes or whatever that they took from public domain images of Baphomet. Now what I think is interesting though is how many pop stars use Baphomet in their performances, like Beyonce and Lady Gaga and Madonna, and they all wear the Baphomet costume at one point when Madonna did it.
Like the horn's head?
Yeah, but like literally the whole thing. And even more interesting is that Lady Gaga actually claims that she did sell her soul to the devil in the beginning of her career, and
how do you do that?
That she's paying for it now in fibromyalgia.
But how do you do that?
Well, you have to get an agent and everything, and it's all paperwork, lots of paperwork.
Is it like going to the pawn shop?
No. This is sub-basement, much a sub-basement level, like basement sale.
Okay, you have to do it in a basement?
Yeah, be closer to the. You have to talk to Nicholas Blair.
Well, apparently
Nicholas Blair.
No.
Nicholas Blair from Dark Shadows, Satan's assistant.
Satan's handmaiden.
Yeah, assistant.
The thing about Baphomet that baffles me is that they're suing Netflix because it seems like they're suing not because they copied the statue, but because they're making it seem evil, right?
Yes.
Because
you're making the devil seem evil, positively evil.
Right, because in the show apparently
the devil is so
all
sweet.
these people who are worshiping this god are practicing necromancy and murder and cannibalism and all these other things.
Not like good Satanists do.
And yes, and they claim that Satanists don't believe in any of that. That Satanists are good, and that they're just against feeling bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, kind of.
Right. So their belief is that if it feels good, do it, and if it feels bad.
And Madonna says that all the songs. If it feels good, do it. I don't know.
Right, which I guess you could say is the opposite of the Bible, which always tells you
if it feels good, don't do it.
It's wrong, and you shouldn't do it. Yeah.
Which I think is unhealthy. It's probably unhealthy to say the other two. It's like,
Well, having practiced our own religion of if it feels good, do it, and keep doing it and doing it, I mean, that hasn't always led us down the most productive
but it has also
roads.
led us down some very fun roads. I think that there's probably something in between. Like, if it feels good, do it sometimes, but don't do it all the time.
Right, because you could end up dead or in jail.
Yeah. Or poor. Even worse.
Or poor.
Yeah.
I may be poor soon.
How come?
Because I might lose my job on January 2nd.
How come?
Because all the people over 55 at my job are going to be retired.
So you're
forcibly, yeah.
You're gonna get a gold watch and
nope.
Put out to pass break.
I'm just gonna get a severance package.
Well, you're lucky because you've got. Wait. We'll be right back.
And now a word from our sponsor.
Welcome back to the Peeew.
So we were
the devil, you said.
The devil made us do this.
The devil wears Prada.
So we were just talking about the
how horny
the church, the Temple of Satan suing Netflix over Baphomet, and then we realized that
all of our friends are Satan worshippers.
Apparently. But they're the nice kind of.
Well, they are.
They're like, they don't throw it in your face.
Right. Well,
they're not trying to.
Not Satanic Barbie, But
even Satanic Barbie, it's not like she's trying to convert you.
No, and I don't even know if she will. It's a. I don't want to say gimmick, but I mean, do they really believe in it? I don't know.
Yeah. Have you ever seen them going to church?
No.
You think they're getting up on Sunday or whatever day of the week that Satanists go to church?
No, our church was always, limelight and like going to church. That was our church, and it was definitely a church of the poison mind. It was not Christian church, but I mean, is J.C. Cass a Satanist?
I'm not sure.
Jason.
I mean, J.J. Bryan's always talking about Satan.
Oh, yeah. And Megan and all those people from Virginia, all that white trailer trash, Virginia, they're all Satanists.
Yeah, you know,
Sexy skinhead.
I mean, I'm not really a religious person, so to me, like being a Satanist, it's just the same as being a Christian or believing in any other religion. That, you know, it's not something I believe in. I don't believe in supernatural deities.
Well, you know, you better be careful, because what they say is, if those who do not believe in anything will believe in, those who don't believe in anything will believe in everything, or something like that, right? What is it? Those who don't believe in anything will believe in anything.
Will believe anything?
Yes, that's what it is.
Well, no, I'm very skeptical.
Oh, you'll believe anything. I don't believe it.
See you next time.
Bye.